think now maybe you just pick up Analog's hero here. Again, you see the mid lane already. If you want to, you could just go for that. But instead, they
Okay.
rush the Wraith King pick. I like that. Deny it from Wildcard. You get it really right ahead of Yuma, or rather of Yamsun. And now, what will Yamsun decide to play? Hopefully, we don't see the Sven come out again, just because I think it's been a few too many reaches for the hero. But you want someone in that same vein where he's capable of farming up those stacks. There's going to be a Weaver stacking for your Ancients. The Ogre is going to be bloodlusting you. I think the most interesting hero that they could pick would be seeing if they can kind of grab that Chaos Knight before it's too late. But that's also where things could get dicey when both of your safe laners are on heroes as active as Wraith King and CK. So we'll see if they even want to play towards that kind of game.
Yeah, it would give you, like you said, someone with that sort of damage and durability, but there are some potential drops. But now if you're wildcard, this is going to get a little bit concerning and sort of interested to see if maybe they kick the can down the road a little bit with that carry selection. Maybe just try and go for some sort of offlaner here instead. But only problem with that is that if you do go down that route, you open up Hokori to take 2 more bans, 2 more sort of strikes at your eventual carry pick, and then the number of heroes that you have available that you even like against the Wraith King goes down even further. So kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. You leave yourself open no matter what. It's just a matter of, are you willing to put Eves or Divine Llama in the line of fire?
Yeah, and that's where it feels like they almost have to pick Device Hero, but okay. That's a really different route to take this.
Seeing a lot of Huskars recently. Well, a lot,
I
2, but 2 is
almost,
a lot.
like, I refuse to think that Huskar can really go anywhere aside from mid, if I'm being honest, just because the hero is so level dependent. But I guess at the same time, I almost envision Wildcard sending Yamsun more likely on the Kunkka than him playing the Huskar, but we'll have to see. But yeah, Huskar getting thrown into the mix. Again, he only got, or rather received buffs in 731. He only got better at laning. He really might be rounded out a little bit better, but even in the game that we did see it, laning stage, wash, dominant, nothing you could do. He's Huskar. In terms of everything else, you can still die really quickly. You still have to play for BKB. If you don't get Roche, stuff can get really ugly here. And I think that's also where Wildcard, they need someone else that can kind of expedite that process, because Cook is not the best Roche killer until he gets absurd amounts of damage. Weaver's going to help just a little bit, but I think in terms of how fast they can actually do it, it's a little bit rough. And the slower you are to get in and out of the pit, I mean, Hokori have amassed so much team fight already. If you get caught in between, then you're just going to get ripped apart.
You know, ET, the longer I sort of look at this, the more I'm thinking that they might actually try to put Eves on that Huskar in a 1 position. As you said, it doesn't really feel right, but we saw Wildcard willing to take a chance. The last time around, they took the Clinks, which, as a position 1 hero, is not out of position, but was a bit of a risky choice for that sort of lineup in particular. So if you're Wildcard, maybe you're willing to take that chance, but it still feels a little bit weird. But now if you put the Huskar mid, as you said, the Kunkka then shifts to the 1 or the 3, and those options seem kind of too vague in terms of what you're actually going to get from the hero in that role.
Yeah, and well, the Necro ban kind of says a little bit here. Definitely making that Kunkka feel more like their offlaner, safe laner. But again, that's just because I have this bias that Huskar is not a side laner, that he's not really going to do too well in that position. But Wildcard, they're going to keep us guessing. Hokori, they think they need either a mid laner or an off laner. Think banning out the comfort heroes, if anything, just in case they would go for that. And I really think the AA ban from Wildcard, really, really smart. There is just a little bit of that flexibility. It would force Hokori's lanes to be a little bit weird, just because I think then the Phoenix goes off lane and then the Mars goes mid, which it's a little bit funky, considering your lanes just don't feel nearly as nice. But I think now Hokori probably pick up a Vitaly. They can go either for a Vitaly or an analog hero right now. We could either see him reach for a Spirit, perhaps. Then, regardless, you're playing Spirit versus, I think, Huskar. And that's where Wildcard, they do have the advantage here, no matter what he picks. And they actually pick a lane we've seen already with the Huskar. We saw the Huskar versus Storm, and it's not the best matchup. It's really quite bad, but at the very least, Storm can kind of just run to the jungle, give up on the lane before it's too late. And Wildcard, I think now probably just need another stun. They need someone who's actually going to catch this hero. I think Hokori picking up an elusive pick with their final choice is just really smart as well.
Yeah, this wildcard lineup is very lockdown light. You've got one stun and whatever you want to classify the X-Torrent combo as, but that really is not going to be enough looking at what they're sort of going up against. But you need a little bit of everything, right? You need lockdown, need damage, you're going to need a little bit of durability, looking at Hokori maybe getting some of those teamfight combos off, and you will need someone as well to try and focus down the Phoenix, take him down quickly, and, well, in that regard, Huskar Kunkka Weaver is not bad, but that's 3 heroes I just listed off who would all have to be hitting that egg. Pangolier maybe doesn't help out directly on that front, but it is something that gives Wildcard a little bit more lockdown and some more dynamic playmaking for sure.
Yeah, and they go for the Kunkka mid. They go for the, I want to say, the more 50-50 matchup. Analog's definitely going to be much more happy playing versus the Kunkka as opposed to the Huskar, but you kind of had to go for it. And I think the Pango, it's a really nice pick here. It's someone that's very non-committal. It's someone that's actually able to, he just has an ultimate that lasts long enough that you can maybe be around for Yuma's second life. You're not expending something that's just going to be absolutely useless. And Pango versus Mars is historically one of the best picks. Back when people were more confident, let's say, on their Pango offlane, they would just immediately pick it in response to the Mars because you roll around in his ulti, you make it really hard for him to find the spear. You're never the target usually. You're always able to play reactively. Is he going to be enough of a stun to hold down Analog? That's really going to be the question of the game. Whether or not you can really start this Storm off on a bad foot and then kind of keep him down the rest of the game, because everyone is very vulnerable to Orchids. It's really easy for Hokori to make plays in this game, while Wildcard, they kind of have to bide their time. They kind of have to be really cautious here, and they need an Aegis before we can really see them get started with their push, because their heroes are not really the best at hitting buildings right now.
That's always the downside to the Huskar, right? You technically can play without an Aegis, but you really don't ever want to be. Why is this Harvest Your Tribute? Get that out. Don't need that popping up. I think that's still the Wraith King stuff.
That's still the Wraith King stuff, yep.
There's probably an option to disable that somewhere that I never ever found. So sorry folks, it's on your screen for a sec. Should be gone momentarily. But yeah, we always talk about this, dipping into the old bag of cliches, right? But ease of execution is so unbelievably important, especially, especially playing at this level, right? You can draft the best lineup in the world, but if you don't, well, execute plays correctly, it doesn't really do you much good. And Wildcard are going to have trouble, let's say it that way. It's far from impossible. They can definitely pull it off, but seems like and feels like what Hokori have is going to be far more straightforward. There's fewer moving parts, a lot more room for error, as opposed to Wildcard, who really have to just be firing on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, and that's where they can definitely show up earlier. I think Hokori, they're going to wait a sec here, wait for their ultimates. They're very level dependent, but once they hit 6, we could definitely just see the immediate switch. I think before then, Wildcard definitely have very strong base heroes. I mean, Weaver Ogre, that's incredibly strong in the laning stage, but it's outside then that we might see their power spikes dwindle a little bit, and that's where you really have to be careful, especially because you've got this Yuma Wraith King, and we've already seen what he's been able to do when he gets a lane, when he gets a game to himself, just starts to become that second playmaker, and I think that's where Wildcard are severely outclassed. Hokori just have so many people who can go in the game, kind of the game plan.
Doing a little bit of dancing right now, though, as Alexo is really just kind of trying to distract him, and because of this, well, he loses the ward, Sentry goes down as well, and he's going to miss, what, actually, it might not be any creeps. Well, Divide really didn't get in there all that quickly, so Yuma's not going to miss out on too much. He gets the lane, and well, he does still end up having those wards taken down, but in terms of his own personal game, no time lost.
Yeah, and really, that's more important for Gardeck. Unfortunately, everything you could say about Weaver in the previous patches, maybe even a little bit better now, just because, well, and Alexa, he's playing around. Gardeck's so low already.
Pushed forward with the high 5. Instead, he gets a Wraithfire Blast to the face, but Yeah, like you were saying, this is your moment. If you're Alexo, try and be annoying. You've got your sort of core hero in the back dealing with some creeps and a low health Phoenix who, if you can burn away his regen this early in the lane, then Gartic is going to have to take some extra time, right? Either step out of lane to get the courier to come to him or potentially just eat a death early on.
And the goal is always to force the 5 to salve himself. If he gets the salve placed on him instead of Yuma's going to be under way more pressure. Devi can feel more comfortable using his mana instead, and then everything gets a little bit more difficult. I think Yuma as well isn't the type of Wraith King player to immediately rush the Helm of Iron Will. I think he actually likes to get his boots just because he does have a little bit more magic damage to play around in this lane, and if he could get an early kill because of those boots, I think Yuma's the type of player to go for that, but it just means he's going to be eating a lot more harass than he otherwise would be, because one other Wraith Kings just ignore it. Yeah, oh boy.
Top lane, Theolacor, that's just a real casual play. Gets the telekinesis, pulls the Huskar under the tower, and Eves thought he could just kind of walk out of it, and well, I mean, he thought wrong. Between that and the Fade Bolt, there was too much damage, so first blood going Hokori's way. Good news for Wildcard is that over on the other side of the map, Yuma ends up getting caught out and taken down. To be honest, ET, I'm not 100% sure how they got that. There's a point up in the swarm that obviously was used there, but Yuma was playing a dangerous game, too low on HP when they went in onto him.
Yeah, it's unfortunately where I think Wildcard just struck at the perfect moment, because Gartic still has that salve. He probably was looking for the reset, but instead it's Hokori who just, I think, undervalue the damage that Wildcard can put out, and now getting some nice items delivered out. Devi already has his Orb of Corrosion, so you have to be really careful when you commit your spells here, and Yuma's just getting hard zoned off the wave. Fortunately, it does mean Gartic gets the small camp pull off, but at the same time, a lot of pressure on the Wraith King right now.
Exactly what you want if you're Wildcard right now. Take him down a couple of times, limit the farm. Alexo is going to be annoying, and this is actually the interesting part, because, yeah, I was about to mention, there is a sentry in the area. Alexo finds out the hard way, and look at that. Gartic's going to track him down. He's looking for the kill. Yuma needs maybe one right click, but Gartic will get it with the DOT. It does cost him his life, but support trade out that is going to get Hokori, well, I think a little bit more there than what they gave up.
And Sammy's on the run.
Here?
Yeah.
Why are there so many Wildcard heroes who are under their opponent's tower right now? That's a little funky. First it was the Huskar, now it's the Ogre, but at least Sammy's able to get out. Gets into the tree line and TP's away, but this is this duo, right? We've seen it so many times before. Mars and Rubik are just menaces. As Vitaly, he might actually get this kill. Yeah. Fadebolt comes in to help, and Eves, he just thought, if it's only right clicks, I'm gonna be okay. Cast range from Rubik is enough.
Yeah, no, that is really rough, and of course, you expect yourself to be a little bit tankier here. You've got 900 HP, you only have 2 armor, so that rebuke definitely hurts, but it's still, that's unfortunate. Yeah.
Duke into Spear, Theolacor is waiting, but not going to use the telekinesis. Vitaly, at that point, didn't have anything left to work with, so they might have still been able to run it down with the right clicks, but they would rather not conserve the mana. Especially with Eves back in the lane, you can go for the Huskar, who's obviously a far more valuable kill if you save enough mana to go again, but Sammy just basically says, no, you will kill me if you kill anyone, actually, because they might not get this. The Orcor's got to back off. There's the spear, though. Never mind. Sammy's not dead yet. Wow. I think Vitaly showing maybe a little bit more respect than he needed to. The Ogre really didn't have too much left to fight with, but Vitaly feels he doesn't have the damage to make that happen.
Yeah, and now Hokori are the ones that need their couriers. There are arcane boots on Theolacor already, so that's going to be pretty nice, but it's actually Yamson that needs to be pretty careful with this creep surplus. It's a little bit dangerous here, but it pays to be an Ogre, right? You just are so tanky inherently. They don't get the kill because of it, and it's all that attention that Yamson is going to love, because he just gets to lane. He's trying to avoid stealing XP on the Ogre as much as he can, but a lot of that is really not his fault, just because he's taking so much aggression away from the Hokori side. But now, some personal time between Yamson and Vitaly just means that you're going to get level 5 pretty soon here. You have all of your spells, and Vitaly actually has to be a little bit careful, because he can definitely get withered down.
That is still the threat of the Huskar. Even though you've taken him out a couple of times, he can still hurt, but this will hurt as well. There's going to be that lift into the spear. I don't think it's enough, though. Nice pushback with the inner fire, and yeah, Vitaly's got to respect it. If he gets too many of those burning spears on him, he's not going to be able to survive. But over in the south side jungle, not the same respect shown to Alexo. Analog rotates his way in, hit level 6. Now we're going to be able to find the kill. Gardic is the one to get it, which is slightly unfortunate. Would have preferred to have that in the hands of Analog, but the Storm is starting to make some moves here. That one was just into his own jungle, so not exactly maneuvering all across the map just yet, but Esk is not exactly going to be able to keep him pinned down in this middle lane.
Nope, definitely not. But at least Alexa was trying to steal the bounty rune, and unfortunately he was unsuccessful. So Analog gets some mana to play with here, but it did strike at the same moment where you had those power runes. So now there's a haste rune on your Kunkka. Could definitely see Esk getting aggressive, but Vitaly, he's going to run all the way back. Both of them are.
Alexo rotated in. It's not a bad attempt, and the Hokori's got to be careful here, because yeah, those supports are not going to give up looking for him immediately. But he will remain under the tower. He and Vitaly trying to huddle together. That's very risky. Sammy is not going to be an easy kill. All they need is for maybe one hero to come over, but they've got the spear stun that gets the tower shots involved, and well, Sam goes down, but yeah, there's the payoff. They will get to an exchange. Alexo should die to tower. Yeah. No, not to tower. Actually, Analog. I believe got the credit for it. So, well, this fight won't stop. Yves says, okay, there's no one else here I can push in now. You do not have mana. And he's not able to get away. Analog tried at the last second. The shortest ball lightning he could have gotten, but it is not enough. Analog dies, and now Yuma's gone too. Hokori. Trying to do a little too much, I guess, right? I mean, they get Sammy and Alexo. That's cool, but you lose 4 heroes across the map in the process. It's just, I mean, we're 8 minutes in. That just seems like way too much greed.
No, in the top lane, really, Alexo being the one to kind of make the poke play, come back, make another successful play. It kind of works out. And
X into
the damage here. Yeah, they do with the bugs. Okay.
Of course, going to give it a shot, but he should still be going down. S comes in. Yeah, that's a max level Tidebringer. So, okay, Wildcard stringing together, what, 5-6 kills over the past couple of minutes. They are really cooking now, and concerns that we may have had about some of their cores kind of fly out the window, right? You got Esk at the top of the net worth chart. You're sitting on Huskar in 3rd place, so it's looking pretty good. And that Pangolier, who, well, has honestly been, I want to say quiet, but that's not even true. You look at him, he's 3rd in net worth now. He's 2-0-1. It's just, haven't really been talking about him with all the fighting elsewhere on the map.
Yeah, and Esk is doing his job. He's really bouncing in between everywhere. They love to find Vitaly here as he was greeting out for his level 6 on the top lane, but he does make the escape, and now this is where Hokori's moment is coming up. You have a lot of your level 6s coming from your supports, your offlaner. You're going to have that much more damage to play with. Gardic's getting his level 6 in the mid lane. Then we see that Hokori teamfight break out where they have the advantage over Wildcard. They didn't have the tools before. Wildcard was striking when the iron was hot, but like you brought up, that's where Devi is being so farmed right now. It's very scary. He's also gone for this diffusal rush. He has it. It's flying out right now. With Max Swashbuckle, even Yuma needs to be very careful. Of course, he already died twice in the bottom lane, so showing up to any fight is not really going to be on the table for him, but he is just accelerating incredibly quickly. It's been a while since I've seen somebody max Swash, but it's just going to work. And with this diffusal being cheaper, it just means that now anytime you show up to these long fights, it could go really wrong really quickly, especially if the storm stays around too long.
Yeah, and that's the point exactly, to sort of piggyback off of what you said. It's been so long since we've seen this sort of build.
Oh, Analog.
Even from the middle lane, Pangoliers, as Analog gets taken down, and well, we said Esk was sort of cooking at this point, but that's the big one, right? You take down the Storm Spirit, the one hero that's supposed to be about as close to unkillable as you can be right now, considering his maneuverability. Instead, the X pulls him in, and Wildcard keep that momentum going. And now, ET, you were saying the Hokori are sort of waiting for their moment, trying to get their levels up. They have hit that mark, but they're staggered. They really can't make the play until Storm is back in and they can regroup.
Yeah, and they really don't want to be forced into Wildcard's item timings. That's where Esk going for the Orchid, having the Armlet, having the Diffusal already, it's where suddenly their lineup, you're not seeing their weak point. You're only seeing them at their highs, and that's where Hokori just need to find the play. I think if they are forced to wait for Vitaly to finish up his Blink Dagger, that would be almost worst case scenario because there's just not much happening right now. And I think they really need to look for something like that because it's the little plays that make here's like the Storm Spirit feel that much better. And
Oh, Gardic
Guy's
has no
looking for Gardic.
TP.
Well,
It was
he's
a
dead.
nice Icarus at the start, but yeah, without the scroll, nothing to it. Devi's able to get the kill alone, and that actually works out better than if he'd have just been sort of caught out underneath the tower, because while Devi was going after that kill solo, Eves was the one getting the damage onto the tier 1, so it speeds the whole process up that little bit more, and now you can see them trying to make moves elsewhere. They've got Vitaly, they'll catch him in the X. The Torrent was thrown out a little prematurely, but they still have the boat to combo it with. Vitaly not dead yet. Here comes reinforcements. Yuma will join the fight. They need the spear stun, and they got it. But Yuma, okay, he's going to try to lock down the Weaver first. I say first, but at this point, they need to lock down somebody at all. They're just not going to get anything out of this.
Yeah, and I think this is where Wildcard, they're overloaded in this current moment. Devi TP to defend the mid tower, so if he wasn't able to get topped, then I think them disengaging is actually very wise there, because, well, you got their tool. You got Vitaly's ultimate already. Now we're going to need to wait for his Blink Dagger before we see another arena come out, and okay, Hokori got Shikuchi. Now you're going to feel that hero being a little bit broken, and everybody's running, but Sammy's just already here. This is a really awkward position for everyone involved, but I think it's really Hokori on the retreat. They need to get out, but bottom, it's a solo kill. Yamson just gets some free gold in his pocket.
So many heroes dancing in that top lane. Yeah, Eve says, I've got a 1v1, and I win it. Just gets in there, finds an easy kill. Vitaly not able to get away. Gardic, meanwhile, copping a bit of damage there as well from the Swashbuckler. He's able to get out, but the Old Core may not be so lucky. It's stolen Shikuchi, but there was detection in the area, but looks like the Old is going to be able to get himself out. Analog, though, look at this. He's trying to set up, but I think they just spotted him, so they know what's up. Wildcard are going to start backing away. Sammy, though, is going to sort of get left behind, pulled back in by the Vortex. Need a little bit more damage to actually find the kill, though. He's not going down easily. They will get him eventually. Sammy will fall. Devi very nearly sniped one out there onto Gardic with the Swashbuckle from the river, but not quite close enough to get the trade.
Nope, wasn't close. It's those little picks that are going to end up feeling that much nicer for you. And, well, when you get to... Oh, do you see that fight? Yeah, look at that. Yuma, you good?
So first of all, yeah, he's going to pause the game. Second of all, he got a soul ring just now. That is not the usual time for a soul ring. He's got Phase Boots armlet already, but maybe feeling some mana issues. And I guess now that he sees for sure that that Diffusal Blade's picked up, that does make a little bit more sense, right? Have the soul ring in your back pocket. Most of the time it should keep you in range for a reincarnation. It's not quite enough just in and of itself, but it'll make it harder for him to get caught out. But his teammate definitely getting caught out there. The Hokori just absolutely run down. 4 heroes combining for that kill, and oh my god, that's just so much damage. Analog just gets sort of chunked down, loses a lot of his mana as well, so there's not going to be any sort of play from him to defend the tower.
Yeah, and that's also where this item build is just 7-3-1, baby. You don't feel the drawback of not having that 10 agi, because, well, on Pango, you weren't really buying it for the agi. You're really just buying it for the effect, so I think that's why we see him go for the Soul Ring, is just having that emergency plan. A Soul Ring now is, I guess you could say, cheaper than an Ag Shard in the future, but with it being at 15 minutes, maybe there's a world where greeding out for it might be a little bit more viable, but he's got bigger and brighter plans. At the end of the day, having the Soul Ring maybe allows him to get another Wraithfire Blast off. Not the biggest loss in the world, but finally, Hokori, they smoke up, they look for their easy play. They've got the Blink Dagger on Vitaly, but they're whiffing, and Wildcard, they're looking for their pick into the Roche pit, and if they take too long here, I think Yamson might just start the fight, but they're really diving deep here. This is also Orchid reveal on S, so if they catch Analog, that'd be big. Oh,
Zips a little bit too far, and now, yeah, that leaves Vitaly on that front line without a lot of backup. They should be able to drop him down. They're going to turn their focus, though, to the Supernova, taking down the egg first, as Gardic will fall, and Hokori, they have mishandled this one. Soul Ring not activated there, so Yuma didn't get enough mana to get the reincarnation, and now the Storm has to time this out perfectly, and he doesn't.
oh no.
Pulled back in, silenced up. Unfortunate from Analog. That's 2 zips. First the one past the pit, then that one not coming in time to avoid the pullback. Cost him his life. Hokori absolutely lose the fight. It's not even really a fight, just 4 heroes dead. They didn't really do any damage in exchange. Now Wildcard get the team fight win and Roche for free.
Yep, and now the game changes. Now Yamsen can show up to these fights. Now he can stand in front. He doesn't need to really worry about that BKB timing anymore. He can just kind of do whatever. And
Stun mid Icarus. Devi's gonna come in. Not enough for the kill initially, but they almost certainly have this as... Okay. I thought it was going to either be Eves or Devi, but Sammy actually yoinked it with the DOT there from a maxed out Ignite. So, all things considered, still a nice pick, and you've got 4 heroes up in this top lane with a creep wave coming. Siege creep is here with them, so this tier 1 tower is not looking too hot. There's a glyph for Hokori to slow it down, but ET, this is the exact opposite of an actual defensible position.
Nope. And he's trying to cut the wave. He's just trying to be obnoxious. He wants to play up here in the first place, but without a mana item, he's got 4 nulls, and honestly, that can be your mana item. But with nothing like the Kaya Sange, or I guess it really is just the Kaya Sange, just because I feel like he's missed his Orchid timing a little bit in this game. So instead, he's just going to ignore it entirely and look at the BKB. The problem, BKB is just stopping you from getting stunned here, and I honestly don't think he needs it, because we already brought up the Wildcard don't really have a stun, and I think being afraid of getting clipped like that, it's literally at this point just to counter out more or less that Orchid from Esk, and I think that's way too big of a forcing play. If you're trading a BKB for just an Orchid, that's a pretty bad spot to be in. I think really Hokori right now just need to look for a play. They did a really good job setting up shop at Wildcard's triangle as they were taking the top side of the map, but Vitaly just needs to find an arena. They need to sync up their spells right now, because their team fight is still great. They can still get carried by that, but they're just not finding any targets right now. And well, they've got the ward, so Vitaly is able to blink away, but they're really just having to play this split push style of Dota while they wait for what feels like items that they're not really getting. And well, Analog got Orchided from the tree line. Don't know if he's dead though. Nope. Perfect.
That is very well timed from S, because as you said, wasn't sure if he was going to have enough damage, but the Torrent buys him just enough time, so everything is coming up Wildcard right now in a scenario where, well, we're kind of eating our words a little bit. I was talking about how the Hokori lineup was going to be so much easier to execute plays, but Wildcard are hitting everything that they need to hit right now, right? They've got nearly a kill per minute, and what did we say they needed to do, right? They needed to get the Huskar multiple Aegises, whatever. They are not at multiple yet, but they've got the first one. They've taken some towers. They're keeping their opponents down on the kill count, and they're finding pick plays like this. As the Olakor really doesn't have anywhere to go. Silence onto him. Alexo gets the kill.
Yeah, it really comes back to just Esk and Devi having such a good time, but yeah, Arena
has to be used defensively, but the alternative was Analog going down again. But now Vitaly, he's hit by the inhibit from the Diffusal Blade, so he's not going to be able to get away. Gardic trying his best to heal him up, but wasn't enough. Vitaly goes down, Gardic has to fall back. The Storm zipped in, but he was already low on mana from the previous attempt on his life, so can't stick around for long, and Wildcard are just going to push further forward. Sammy's actually even trying to get a stun onto Gardic, did do so, but that's not a position where they want to fight. They really do just want this tower.
Yeah, and on both the waves, yeah, they even aggressively glyph just to keep that bottom creep wave a little bit more alive, so they have that follow-up play. But again, that's where you can't highlight enough how important this Aegis is for them. They get to just stand up. Yamsum's doing it pretty much by himself. He's got his teammates in the wings, but really no one else is hitting this building alongside with him. Probably not going to see anybody hitting these buildings aside from him. Maybe once S gets an AC, we could see him doing some of the tower damage, but this is just a lot of time and a lot of map control, and even more fortunately for him, as soon as this Aegis expires, he's going to be able to slot it out immediately with the BKB, and you love to see that. Suddenly, the Aegis isn't as important. Get the BKB, don't have to worry about losing that survivability in the same vein, but maybe going to see him hide a little bit more, especially when he makes his presence known in the team fights, because he still can die. He's still not the most durable hero right now. Having the halberd definitely helps to deal with Yuma, but I think even more so is that Yuma is just not very farmed right now. He has really not gotten a lane for quite a while. He's looking for a BKB, and I think this is the first time I've ever seen a Wraith King forced into going, really skipping the Deso. Meanwhile, the rest of his team is just dying, trying to get into their own triangle. This is not a good look for Hokori.
This is going horribly. This is legitimately one of the worst case scenarios that you could have foreseen, at least with these two particular drafts. It's gone horribly. Nothing is really panning out the way they wanted it to. Analog has made not no plays. He did get 1 or 2 kills, but has not been the dynamic playmaker they needed. Without that playmaking, Yuma has not had the space to farm. Did, yeah, finish off the BKB, so you do have that, but... And then you look to the other sort of members of this. The Supernovas have not been really on point. Vitali is dying in the bottom lane, and his arenas have not exactly been on point either. He's had to use it either defensively or only onto really one hero at the most, so... Every aspect of Hokori's lineup is coming up well short of the mark, and part of the reason why they're trailing by 8k 21 minutes in.
Yeah, and it's so difficult now because when Yuma has to go for this BKB, it's great. He's got a BKB, and so he's going to get a nice little kill here on Sammy Boy, but Huskar's going to force everybody to run here. Could cliff him. Okay. Nice. Now he has to TP. Can't really afford to get greedy here. Maybe waits for someone with sentries to kill the obs, or doesn't want to get his TP broken. That's why I think they're rolling, just really forcing away Hokori, but Hokori is looking and waiting, and hope he doesn't die for it. He will TP though, and it will work.
To a certain extent, I can appreciate that, right? You'd think he's like, okay, just TP, whatever, but you don't want to use your 9-second BKB charge to protect that, and you sure as hell don't want to get your TP broken, because then you're standing on the cliff looking a little dumb for quite some time as... Okay, Analog zipping, but a little bit too far again. The spear comes out, but it's too late. They already popped the BKB on the Huskar. He's going to immediately turn onto that Supernova, taking the egg away. And this fight is going to start getting ugly pretty quickly. They need to take down something. They will... Well, will not get Eves, actually. I was going to say they could get him here, but Yuma, with his second life, won't do any more than he did with the first life. He's disarmed, he's taking DOT, he's gone. And now Vitali... Good spear, able to connect, but does not do a whole lot of good. They get 1 kill onto Sammy, way back on the high ground. Other than that, nearly wiped out.
Yeah, it really just isn't the same level of execution that we know Hokori, I think, for. That was really rough. The arena isn't placed on top of the egg. They try to get in between. It just... Nothing is coming together for them. The spear even tries to go into a BKB target, and yeah, Devi is just everywhere he needs to be, and unfortunately everything's just come up Wildcard at this point. Now they have BKB still. He's got to do some zip plays. Anon's looking for the creep wave, and he will get it, but we'll see if Backdoor gets up in time here. Got a few more seconds, and I think with those spirits whiffing or being dodged out, there's your melee racks, and they got exactly what they wanted, so they just immediately back.
Zero consequences for the side of Wildcard, as they... As you said, they stand their ground. They know Analog's just going for the drive-by, so they don't overreact to that maneuver. Take what they want, and they're now smoked up as well. This is actually perfect. Hokori are going to start wandering out of the base, looking to drop some vision down. Yuma in particular has to be careful. That is a reincarnation that is still on cooldown. If he goes down here, then that's another high ground push, almost guaranteed for that Wildcard side, and they're starting to ping him out. They see him. They know Yuma's there. He's got a BKB TP, and he may be forced into using it. Yep.
Rough. It's really rough because you didn't exactly pull Wildcard. You would have loved to use that maybe up here in the top tree line, but instead it just ends up being a relatively free trade, and there's just more time where Yuma isn't able to farm. This is the poorest I've honestly seen him in a very long time, and until he gets what looks like the Silver Edge, I don't think that they can really fight. But that's where Wildcard... they're just going to look for next Roche, and it's going to be a free Aegis. They're not going to want to defend without the BKB on Wraith King. Even with the BKB on Wraith King, I don't think they could win the fight, so they're trying to take as much space as they humanly can, but it feels like a half measure. At least you have BKB on Analog. He's not going to need to worry about the Orchid, the roll. He could just do his own thing, but that's where having this limited mana pool, and his nulls do double. We do have that happening right now. But everyone else is just getting picked off in the kind of process of trying to find farm here. And, well, Sammy, you're also going to get picked off. Didn't expect 2 cores there.
Just losing heroes left, right, and center. And I actually did want to check this because I wasn't 100% sure. So it notes that it doubles the bonuses, but the actual, like, tooltip does not double the numbers. Like, just a little thing. I always wanted to check that and wasn't really paying attention at 25 minutes because most people had already swapped those out. But in the case of your Storm, he's still holding on to 4 of them because he doesn't have much of an alternative right now. So at this point, ET, I don't know. What is the plan if you're Hokori? Is it just anything to stall, anything to buy time? Is that all you have to do here? Or all you can do, I guess, would be the more appropriate question.
I honestly think so. It's just going to be analog zipping waves, trying to push them as far away as humanly possible. But that's where the real killer is going to be once Yamsun finishes his Ags here, and he's only 100 gold away, so he's going to have it real soon. And then, well, you can't run. He's going to track you down. He's going to kill you. It's where BKBs on the Mars, it's going to be crucial. If Vitaly doesn't get it off, he's just going to be dead, and he's still very hesitantly working towards it. BKB plus buyback is a lot of gold that, unfortunately, he doesn't have. And oh, it's an illusion. Well, there goes your Coliseum. So now we're probably going to see Wildcard immediately push into bottom, and now they don't have their team fight tool.
Yeah, but that illusion was super dead, so... I don't know. This is such a rough game. Vitaly's got to be feeling terrible right now because he was one of the heroes that they looked at the most. Him and Analog really needed to be the playmakers, and they're just not getting it done. And now the Aghanim Scepter has been completed. Analog, you got to keep zipping. You got heroes coming up from behind. They're gonna hit him up. No lockdown just yet, but Analog's playing a dangerous game here. He keeps going for the short zips. Devi, though, yep, there's the blink into the rolling thunder.
Well, perfect.
Just go for the long zip. Make sure you get away. He tries to be a little too cute with it, and now he's dead, and he's dead with no buyback, ET. There's no defense here.
Nope. And, well, that's your bot racks. They can't get megas. They would have to just go for the GG here, but at the same time, Hokori, they can't defend it. This is just going to be a free one, and that's where, well, do they swing for the tier 4s? I think Wildcard would love to go for just a dive, just a backline jump, but that's where Devi, not having his Rolling Thunder, he doesn't really have enough to make it happen, but, well, they're, yeah, just gonna go for the full reset. Already heroes TPing back. They want to continue to use this Aegis. Only 2 minutes left, and they will be able to at least kill this tier 2 in that window, but I don't think they can get that much more done with it after that. But that's still quite the nice position to be in. Finding Yuma again would be stellar, but he just finished the Shadow Blade. That's something to look up to. I think they might look for a smoke here with the BKB finished on Vitaly, and they need to do something active. They are very split on Wildcard right now. This would be their one moment, and finding Esk bottom would be perfect, but they two-man smoke. Okay.
Biding his time, waiting, but biding a little bit too much time. Esk pops the BKB before the Wraithfire hits, and they needed that so badly, ET, but they're not gonna get it. That's a full 5-man smoke that doesn't get them a kill. I mean, it gets them into the jungle. This is nice. Take some camps, get the outpost back into your hands, but they needed that pick.
Yeah, and really, I think even though it's a 2-man smoke, it was a 2-man smoke to rejoin with their team top, and it ends up giving them enough reaction time to actually predict the enemy team's smoke. And I think Yuma being forced to lead in there, but there wasn't the immediate pull, there wasn't the immediate blink stun. Both are very easy to react to for Esk, but without that jump, now they're just in on your buildings. They know what's up. They do have another smoke, I believe, on Hokori, but they need a miracle right now.
He's trying to be sneaky, and he did get Esk this time. BKB not available. Analog, meanwhile, BKB's his way through the X. Maybe this is their moment, but they need more damage. Where's the rest of the lineup? The Olakor is trying to fight with his teammates, but the reincarnation's already been activated, so Yuma has got to be careful. He'll activate the BKB, but the physical damage is just too much. Magic Immunity doesn't do you a whole lot of good if Yves can just absolutely tank him down. As Yuma will fall, the Supernova will at least go off, but it's too late. Yuma and Analog both went down, and there is a buyback on the Storm, but I don't know. I think they overplayed that from those two. Vitaly was really completely MIA in that fight.
Oh no, Analog.
Boy, that might just be it. Dieback from Analog. Gardic gotta get picked off as Yves. Beyond godlike 11-2 now on this Huskar, and well, turns out at ET every once in a while a silent Huskar shows us a little bit something more than we would have expected. And This is just a masterful showing from Wildcard. The GG gets called. They will take the 1-1 split. And night and day, the execution for this squad between Game 1 and Game 2.
Yeah, hey, Wildcard, they're the revenge team. If you wipe the floor with them, you gotta be careful because next game they might wipe the floor with you. This is the second time they've done this to a squad, and well, they are proving that honestly, can't count them out. They've gotten a lot of games away from a lot of some of these very, very good teams, especially the South American teams. NA's always been a struggle for them, but man, oh man, they are really looking good when they want to. Sometimes the cracks show. We get to see their big weaknesses, but especially this game, Esk and Devi, you want to bring the highlight over towards the Huskar on the side lane, but really the space made and the plays made with their rotations on that Kunkka and Pango really just kind of put them head and shoulders above their opponents here. At the same time, Corey, they never synced up. We never got to see that play around the 10-minute mark, around the carts, where they get to just throw all of their ultimates at their opponents and then everything lands. It just never hit. And I think that's why Wildcard felt like they had such an easy time in this game, because it really felt like they were never the ones under pressure. They were never the ones that needed to be careful. And once those, again, timings missed for Hokori level-wise, then you're playing into a team that is looking for those early items, looking for those Blink Daggers, those Orchids, those BKBs, and then once they're ahead of you, Hokori don't feel so good about taking that fight, and so they didn't take the fight for a very long time, and they just fell so far behind.
Yeah, I really just have to agree. I mean, you said Esk and Devi, they combined for what? 15 kills, 22 assists, no deaths between the two of them, and Devi with that early Diffusal Blade. I think that really was one of the big turning points. Hokori, like you mentioned, sort of missed their timing. Part of that comes from once they do get those levels, they start trying to push forward, thinking, okay, now we've got what we need, and all of a sudden, there's this Pangolier who's just annihilating your health and your mana bars with those swashbuckles, so everything just gets sort of thrown out of alignment, as you were alluding to, and Hokori don't have it in them to readjust in time.
Yeah, and really, it's hard to say that it comes down to it, but when you get that first Aegis, the first Aegis is the most difficult to fight for with this Huskar, where you don't have BKB, you don't have your tools yet, and Wildcard getting a 4K into the push into Roche, it felt like that would have, it just set up their game to be this kind of easy road ahead, and I think that's where Hikori, it just ran out of gas, really. That's where it comes down to. Analog had a really rough game, and Yuma especially, having to skip the Deso in an effort to get this BKB, it just felt like they were scrambling to make a fight happen.
Scrambling is the right word, just looking a little desperate towards the end there, and didn't quite work out for them. So a 1-1 draw to open up the day. Both teams get points, so relative to each other, their position will not change, but both teams, I do believe, move up a slot into sort of new tied positions. So that's nice for them, but Wildcard will have to settle for just the 1 point, whereas Hokori have a chance to earn a little bit more. We're throwing them right back into the action off the back of this Game 2 loss, and they're going to be facing off against APU King of Kings. So they've got themselves back-to-back series. That does mean we are going to take a bit of an extended break, just give Hokori some more time, sort of coming off of this best of 2, but they will be in action once again, trying to put some more points on the board, this time against a regional rival. So Hokori versus King of Kings will be the next matchup in about, I believe, 15 to 20 minutes. So we'll step away for a bit, and we'll be back for that second series.